Hi everybody, I want to welcome you to today's devotion. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this article, which is over on lifeway.com. It's titled, New Research. Americans believe in heaven, hell, and a little bit of heresy. And as you can see, there is a chart here, American theological views, and it's going through, it's just kind of scrolling through what people believe. But let's read just a little bit about the article here. Let me scroll down through it. It says here, most Americans believe in heaven, hell, and a few old-fashioned heresies. Americans disagree about mixing religion and politics and about the Bible, and few pay much heed to their pastor's sermons or see themselves as sinners. Those are among the findings of a new study of American views about Christian theology from Nashville-based Lifeway Research. The online survey of 3,000 Americans was commissioned by Orlando-based Ligonier Ministries. Stephen Nichols, Chief Academic Officer of Ligonier Ministries, says the study was intended to take the temperature of America's theological health. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's what the study found. Americans say heaven is a real place, but they disagree about who gets in. 2/3, 67% of Americans believe heaven is a real place. That includes following standard demographic categories: 9 in 10 black Protestants and evangelicals, 3/4 of Catholics, as well as a third of non-Christians. Just under half of Americans, 45%, say there are many ways to heaven, which conflicts with traditional views about salvation being linked to faith in Jesus. And you can see more, okay? Hell is a real place too, but you have to be really bad to go there. And then it gives you some more statistics, okay? When it comes to faith, Americans like a do-it-yourself approach, okay? And then there's more articles. So I just wanted to share this with you just to show you that this is something that is in the news today. Heaven and hell. And what does this have to do with our psalm today? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. Today we're going to look at Psalm 139, and I'm going to show it to you right here. I thought I had it open, but I didn't. Verse 8. Okay, Psalm 139, verse 8. This is our verse of the day. Yesterday, you might recall, we looked at Psalm 139, verse 7. But today we're going to look at Psalm 139, verse 8. So here's what it says. We'll just go ahead and read these versions here. If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. Okay? Or if we read the King James Version, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. So I bring this up because heaven and hell are mentioned in today's Bible reading. So let's look at this more in depth, okay? First thing I want to do is I want you to see what Charles Spurgeon has to say about this. I think it's interesting what he had to say. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Okay. This is Spurgeon's commentary on this. He says, filling the loftiest region with his yet loftier presence, Jehovah is in the heavenly place, at home upon his throne. The ascent, if it were possible, would be unavailing for purposes of escape. It would, in fact, be a flying into the center of the fire to avoid the heat. There would he be immediately confronted by the terrible personality of God. Note the abrupt words, thou there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Descending into the lowest imaginable depths among the dead, there should we find the Lord. Thou, says the psalmist, as if he felt that God was the one great existence in all places. Whatever Hades may be or whoever may be there, one thing is certain. Thou, O Jehovah, art there. Two regions, the one of glory, the other of darkness, are all set in contrast. And this one fact is asserted of both. Thou art there. Whether we rise up or lie down, take our wing or make our bed, we shall find God near us. A behold is added to the second clause, since it seems more a wonder to meet with God in hell than in heaven. in Hades than in paradise. Of course, the presence of God produces very different effects in these places, but it is unquestionably in each the bliss of one, the terror of the other. What an awful thought that some men seem resolved to take up their night's abode in hell, a night which shall know no morning. Scary in fact indeed. All right, now let's look at, I'm going to go ahead and shut that. Let's look at the word ascend here. I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing. Because we read the text here that if I were to ascend into heaven, thou art there. So ascend means the English word implies motion from a lower place to not merely toward a higher one. The usage tends to restrict it to cases where the beholder is in the lower, not the higher position. The King James Version uses it 39 times in all. And then you can see some of these samples here where we see this. Okay, so basically it means to go up. Okay, also we look at this word here, heavens. We go to the heavens, then when you see the biblical usage of the word heavens means simply that. Heavens, heavens, sky, visible sky, an abode of the stars as in the visible universe, the sky, the atmosphere, or the heaven as the abode of God. And then you can see here there is more commentary on this from the unused, let's see this from the Aramaic and stuff, i.e. firmament, which seems to be spread out like a vault over the globe as supported on foundations and columns. And then you can see these different versions here. My point in sharing this is that we're looking at if the person shall ascend into the heavens, thou art there, or go to the depths. Not a lot of people actually talk about this verse. Or if I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. All right? Okay, so now what does Matthew Henry have to say about it? Here's what Matthew has to say. He says here, in heaven, if I ascend thither, as I hope to do shortly, thou art there, and it will be my eternal bliss to be with thee there. Heaven is a vast, large place, replenished with an innumerable company, and yet there is no escaping God's eye there, in any corner, or in any crowd. The inhabitants of that world have a dependence upon God, and lie as open to his strict scrutiny as the inhabitants of this. In hell, in Sheol, which may be understood of the depth of the earth, the very center of it, should we dig as deep as we can underground and think to hide ourselves there, we should be mistaken. God knows that path, which the vulture's eye never saw, and to him the earth is all surface. Or it may be understood of the state of the dead, when we are removed out of the sight of all the living, yet not out of the sight of the living God. From his eye we cannot hide ourselves in the grave. Or it may be understood of the place of the damned. If I make my bed in hell, an uncomfortable place to make a bed in, where there is no rest day or night, yet thousands will make their bed there forever in those flames. Behold, thou art there, in thy power and justice. God's wrath is the fire which will there burn everlastingly. Okay? So Psalm 139, okay, that just flipped for some reason, don't know why. Verse 8 is the verse. If I ascend up into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Heaven and hell. Reality, not fiction. We know that heaven exists. We know that hell exists. The question is, and what Americans seem to be debating based on their biblical illiteracy, is how one gets there and who goes there. That's not what this video is about, but I will say that God is there. And so you cannot escape God, whoever you are. Wherever you go, there he is. He's watching you. He knows you. He knows every thought about you. And he loves you. And so I would encourage you to think about that today and consider the God who sees. His name is El Roi, the God who sees, and He knows. Why not talk to Him today? All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day.